So the dynamic of Men Are From Mars, amazing insights in it, change relationships just like that. And they still do, but there's a new problem that will smother it. And that is why I had to write this book, which is as women became more on their male side, that's their problem. It used to be women were too far on their female side and didn't know how to motivate men to do for them. And they just didn't have that. The male side of us figures out a problem and solves it. So women were too far on their female side, how to bring in the male. And men were too far on their male side. They didn't have empathy and compassion for women. So they went too far to their female side. So the symptom now of men going too far to their female side is, besides, make love, no war, that's the 60s, where I was coming of age, is now men have overly dependence. See, overly dependent means addictions. So we have a whole society of people who are addicted to TV, addicted to sports, and the most insidious is addiction to pornography.
Hello, beautiful people. On today's podcast, we have the passionate John Gray. John is a speaker, teacher, and coach on love and relationships for the last 40 years, and is the author of the famous book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and his new book Beyond Mars and Venus, Relationship Skills for Our Complex Modern World. What I personally love about this conversation is being able to connect with John and get to know him and his opinions on a deeper level. I remember when I was very young, I came across the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and always thought it was such a fascinating book. Everyone seemed to know about it and have something to say about it. What I didn't know about John that he shares in this podcast is that he was quote-unquote cancelled in the early 2000s for being what he notes as sexist. This is about halfway through into the episode, and certainly when the conversation begins to turn from what I would say would be the teachings I am familiar with in John's work to those that were now new for me. John shares some controversial opinions in relation to people who identify as transgender, bisexual, and gay, some of which I will note here I do not agree with. One of the fundamental values of the To Be Human podcast is the freedom of self-expression. So I do want to note, though this conversation is controversial, it does not mean it should be silenced. I'm on a journey of self-exploration, and I find some of the more polarizing conversations of my life have provided the most clarity. So I do request, even encourage, that you lean into this and be mindful of your judgments, no matter what way they may fall. I will preface this, I was indeed more of a listener in this podcast than a conversationalist. Enjoy this passion-fueled episode with John Gray. Welcome, John.
Happy to be with you.
So John, where I'd love to start is with one of your more recent books, Beyond Mars and Venus. And you said, when a man or woman is able to simultaneously blend their masculine and feminine sides in full authentic expression of their unique self, they are then able to feel and express a higher love. So where I would love to start, John, is understanding more about how relationships have changed in the last 25 or so years since writing Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
That's so wonderful. And I love that quote. There's a lot into that quote. So we'll be expanding on those ideas.
Beautiful.
But since you asked me how relationships have changed, we'll start with that. And it moves us to that quote. In a sense, evolution of humanity is that men have been men and women have been women. And there's something called masculine energy and feminine energy, often quoted in Asia, the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. And light and day, the universe is made up of opposite forces. If you know a little physics, then you know that everything would explode if we didn't have a contractive force. And everything would go into a black hole if we didn't have an expansive force. And when we see the galaxies, those pictures of the galaxies turning around, one actually is going the other direction and one's going this direction. So what you have is two complementary forces. And that is the yang and the yin, or the yin and the yang. It's masculine and feminine. And at a certain point in evolution, you're able to combine those forces together. And that's personal growth, is when we see things from two different points of view. That's what communication is to see two different perspectives and find harmony and integration and growth between those things. So back to your question, which is, when I wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, I was already aware that almost all problems in relationships over time come when there's a confusion of the masculine and feminine energy inside of us. You see, as a woman, you're primarily feminine and you have a masculine within you. And as a man, you're primarily masculine and you have a feminine side of you. And the objective is to integrate those two things together. But the world wasn't ready for that knowledge, which is now in my book, Beyond Mars and Venus. I saw it then, but what basically happens in relationships is role reversal. You see, when a woman says something and it upsets her husband because she loves him, she'll tend to minimize that part of her and push it down and push it down. And men will be so, playful or adventurous and expressing themselves, plan a date, and then she doesn't like it. So he feels burned by that. So that's his masculine side, risk taking. Whenever you take somebody on a date, you're taking a risk because you want them to like it. So over time, men will push the masculine down, women will push their feminine down, and the passion will go away in the relationships. And if they don't argue and fight, they become friends or they become enemies. But whatever, it's kind of like a marriage is walking through a minefield of, we've been to that one, so I'll just avoid that because I can't deal with it, and I'll avoid that. And we'll be peace, we'll be at peace instead of integrated, who we were in the beginning, that very enthusiastic man who kneels before you and says, I love you, I pledge my life to you, I'll always love you. And then the woman who's smiling, you see, that's the thing for a woman, is to enjoy him, to appreciate him, to love him, because he's there for her. So that's the beginning of the relationship. So that's all within us. That's the male side, that's the female side. So what I've done is, basically, for couples who were in role reversal, I didn't have to tell them in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, that they were in role reversal. I just had to solve those problems where women didn't feel safe to be feminine by teaching men, you should listen more. You should try to understand her more. You need to validate her more. You need to demonstrate you're caring for her. And then she will feel safe to be with you and love you more. And women, you need to realize that men are very sensitive. They have feelings too, and they're sensitive when they don't feel appreciated, just like you, but multiply that 10 times. We're different, but we're also very similar. Men need to feel forgiven for their mistakes. One of the magic phrases I teach for women is if you want to complain to a man, even though that's not the best technique, but still, it's a progress of learning how to have really good communication, which I teach in Beyond Mars and Venus, which is a step up from the skills in Men Are From Mars. So I address people where they were, because men were primarily masculine, making masculine mistakes, and women were primarily feminine, making mistakes when you don't understand each other. Most of my wisdom is based upon, we're all making a big deal out of nothing. One of the big ideas in Men Are From Mars was men go to their caves, because women are always complaining, he ignores me. So I put in the context, well, actually, it doesn't mean he doesn't love you, because women don't generally have the need to go to their cave, at least if they're more feminine. They want to talk and then want to stop talking. Give me a time to forget about my problems. Don't ask me about my problems. And women are like, hey, I'm taking care of everybody all day. I need somebody to talk about my problems. And so it was basically when women were more feminine and men were more masculine, and they were losing that, how to bring back the passion and connection, how to avoid arguments. And a lot of it was, there was a certain enlightenment that people were growing into, where you realize that the things we get upset about really are no reason to be upset. See, that I look at relationships as having 3 stages, or our evolution of relationship. As the first is, we tend to repeat patterns of being abused by our partners. And usually, there are some partners that you realize that you picked the wrong person. This is clearly, all the warning signs were there and you chose to ignore them. And you need to be able to leave that relationship because it's dysfunctional, because it's your partner's problem and it's not your problem. Your problem is you picked them. You see, there's a place where we have to feel, this is dysfunctional people. If you slap a woman and she's not yet self-esteem, she actually will feel it's her fault.
Wow.
It's never her fault. No violence, no, not your fault when it's violence, mistreatment, and so forth. And men as well, when they're being shamed by their partner, she's complaining all the time, and he'll feel like, well, I deserve it. Okay, so well, we have to realize nobody deserves abuse. So you tend to keep being attracted to this person who represents one of your abusive parents. That's a low-level relationship. Call that a karmic relationship. It's just, you got to learn that you don't deserve to be treated this way. Low self-esteem relationship. Then you have soulmate relationship, and that's pretty much what I write about in my books. Is basically every interaction that's not pleasant is, you can see that you're a part of it. See, that's taking responsibility. That's when you start experiencing lasting love in your life, is when you start realizing that, yeah, he's ignoring me, but what am I doing when he does something I disapprove him? Or, yeah, he's ignoring me, but when he's involved with me, I'm critical of him, or I'm judging him. Why would he want to connect with that? But then there's a higher level relationship where you see you have a role, and changing yourself will change your partner. And that's a conscious person. You can apply that to everywhere in your life. If you have patterns of going broke, will change yourself, and you can change your pattern. You've got to find out what's wrong with me that keeps happening. I used to have people ripping me off all the time because I have so much. Okay. And I just trusted that everybody's like me. Well, that's a mistake. Everybody's not like me. Some people feel entitled to my money, and because I have more. So I have to watch out for that now. Now I watch out for that in a friendly way. So anytime there's a cycle of abuse in your life, you have to look at how are you contributing to it. And when people are mistreating you, find the part of you that mistreats others. And what's surprising is that people don't realize that what you think and feel inside is more potent to abuse somebody else by saying it out loud and doing it. Just feeling it inside, particularly if you're in an intimate relationship, your feelings about another person are a punch, more so than if you just said it all. But if you say it all, it's still a punch. So we have to be responsible, learn how we unnecessarily are creating these problems in relationship. And then you get to the third level, which is pretty much what Men Are From Mars is really dealing with there. And that is, most of the things which are problems are just illusions. When the sun, some people go, what's an illusion? What do you mean? And said, it's when the sun moves across the sky, it looks like it moves, right? But actually it's not moving at all. It's stationary, and we're moving around it.
Yep.
Same concept. We think it's our partner's problem, but actually it's our problem. We create that problem, and we don't know how. So I can't expect you to know how until you read my books. And I tell you, so many people say to me, I didn't realize. People could say, oh, if I'm mean to my partner, then I realize why I have problems. But then what they say, yeah, but if my partner didn't treat me that way, I wouldn't be mean to them. It's the same illusion as I'm counseling a woman today who's got $10 million. She's complaining about her husband. I said, you keep justifying all your behavior to him by saying, well, if he didn't do this and this, I wouldn't be this way. I go, no, you're just that way, and you justify it instead of realizing you're not a loving person right now. And it's tough. And she started starting to get it. I said, just like what everybody else thinks, if I just had $10 million, I'd be happy all the time. And she goes, yeah, that clearly is not true. but while you're getting that money and buying everything you can for a little while, you appear to be happy, but it goes away. Happiness is really when you're giving love, and you're able to treat people respectfully, and you're feeling appreciated, they're feeling appreciated, you feel cared for, you're caring for others. This is where our real happiness comes from, is through our relationships. But we all have wounds from our childhood, from our parents, and you can't heal those wounds in the work world. You'll heal them only in relationships. So people want to run away from their issues by rising to a higher level of denial. That's okay. You'll just keep having the same patterns, but it's through committing yourself in relationships, even dating, just going out to date, but committing yourself to relating in a more personal way with someone helps to bring up the issues. So you see that you're just as bad as them. So, all right. So that's the second stage. Third stage is where you realize, and this is an evolution of consciousness inside of us, that most of our problems are just imaginary, not a big deal. And Men Are From Mars addresses that. Like, for example, women's biggest complaint is men don't listen. And I say, well, do you ask him to listen? It's just like, and they say, well, he's always interrupting me, solving my problem. I said, well, just let him know. Just let him know, I don't really need you to solve my problem right now. I just need you to listen. And if you don't say anything, I feel really good afterwards. So it's not a problem. He's actually trying to help you. You think, oh, he doesn't listen to me. No, he's trying to help you, but you're making him into a bad guy instead of saying, pause, I really don't need to hear that. Or let's say you're with a guy who's angry and he's angry. It's a simple thing. When somebody's angry, you go, oh, I don't feel comfortable right now. I'm going to go into another room. That's it. Or you can say, you're being a bully right now, and walk out of the room. Now that's what you can say to a man, or you can say, so mean, just walk out of the room, but a smile on your face. See, he's just out of control. So you're in control. Same thing comes from dog training. If you have a dog, you have to train the dog, and men are more trainable. Women, I wouldn't say to my wife, you're being mean. I would just say, hey, I can't really hear you right now because I'm getting all activated inside. I just need to think about it for a while. We'll talk about it later. See, in a nice way. You have to be nice to women, but you need to be a little tough with men in a friendly way, with a smile on your face. Oh, you're so tough. And then walk out of the room. Don't engage. See, every problem people come to me with, I always say, and what did you do? And do you see how that didn't work? So you have to realize that doesn't work. And then they don't even have a clue of what you could do different. The woman today, she's talking about her husband slammed his hand on the table because he was angry after she rejected him sexually. Well, of course he's going to do that. So I said, you can say something nice. Well, what could I say? I don't want to have sex. Let's say something nice. What would it be? She doesn't even know what it would be. You can say, oh, I love having sex with you, but I'm really stressed out about something at work. I know that if I could prepare for a day, maybe to have a nice bath, forget that, and maybe we can go to dinner or something. I know I'll be ready by then. But I love having sex with you. If you want to have sex right now, I'm okay with it, but just know I'm not going to have an orgasm. It will just be a quickie.
Communication.
And it's his choice. And what she said to me is that'd be great because I've been faking orgasms my whole relationship. Now I can honestly tell him I'm not going to have an orgasm. How many women fake orgasms? That's like lying. That's betraying him. That's the same thing as a man having sex with some other woman. You don't see your side of it, how harmful it is. You're a liar. And nobody wants to look at that, but I can't say I can't have an orgasm. I understand. So it's just baby steps. You build up to being able to be honest, and that's a good way to do it. When he wants to have sex, oh, I love sex. That's a little fib, for no doubt. But in your fantasy, you can say, I love sex. Yeah, I love sex. and then you basically say, we could do a quickie, or you can give me some time. I might take a bath. We might go out to dinner, and then I can help me forget all my problems, as opposed to blaming him. Nobody wants to be blamed in a relationship, and yet we take the license to do it. So anyway, I all these things in Men Are From Mars, and that's in my book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom. Really good. If you have sexual issues, read that book. It'd be so friendly at that point, because you realize your partner just doesn't understand you. You're on the wrong side because you interact. So the big idea in Men Are From Mars was the cave. When he's in his cave, he's not about you. It's not that he's mad at you, although he could be mad at you, or he could just be having a stressful day. When a man is not feeling loving, he needs to be alone. See, that's it. And so you can just say, oh, are you going to your cave? He says, yeah. And then you wait about 20 minutes and you say, hey, when you're out of your cave, would you help me with something? See, there's simple techniques, because once he's in his cave, sometimes they never come out. So you have to understand. But if you go into the cave, he goes further into the cave because he's away. So many great ideas in that book. Men are like rubber bands. Women always think, what's wrong? What's wrong? We just had a great relationship weekend. We had a vacation and that was wonderful. Now it's going to be really wonderful at home. No, he's gotten so close to you, he needs to pull away for a while. See, men want to lose themselves to please a woman. After all, who's kneeling when you get married? When a man makes love with you, just feel, oh, I'm giving myself to you. He has to come back to himself. Now, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it, which is through these glasses that I wear, which is more wise than the whole society today. It's gone nuts. Men and women are different, period. Men and women are different, period. When men get close, they need to pull back. If they get too close, they lose themselves. They need to pull back. They don't know what they're doing. They just know, I just made love with her, and now I want to roll over and not connect with her. That's normal. That's natural. So, and then not only do we normalize things, which are really normal and natural and not a sign that he doesn't love you, but we also tell you how to cope with those things. So basically, you give him his space, he'll come out of the cave with more love. It's like a rubber band. Men go close, the rubber band is limp. Then he pulls away, and now it stretches, he'll spring back. And those days, all I could do is just say what I've observed. Now I have science, Beyond Mars and Venus, the new book that you mentioned. I'm looking for it in my office. I don't see it right now. Oh, there it is. It's right over there, called Beyond Mars and Venus. Nobody's ever written this. It's never been uttered. It's never been on the planet in the history of the planet about how our hormones affect everything and how behavior can create hormonal balance. So now I would say the rubber band is clearly what happens. A man is attracted to you. He's desiring you. His testosterone is about 20 to 30 times higher than normal in your presence. So he wants to get close to you because when his testosterone goes so high, now his estrogen wants to come up. So when he's having sex with you or being intimate with you or spending loving time with you or having sharing time together, emotional feelings, all that, his estrogen's going up. And estrogen pushes his testosterone down. Now, as long as his testosterone doesn't go down too far, that's good. But at a certain point, it's going to go too low. Estrogen is going to go too high. That's you're spending all this intimate time together, sharing, having a wonderful time. He's going to need to bring his testosterone up again. And testosterone goes up whenever you're doing anything which is non-personal. Estrogen goes up when things are personal. So, and women's brains are biologically different. You can't choose your sex. You can't decide I'm a man or a woman. You're biologically different. And when you don't acknowledge those differences, all kinds of problems happen. So we need to have understanding of those differences if we want to ascend to a higher level of relationship. And the higher level has occurred. And it's creating havoc because people don't understand it. They're confused. Is that after World War II, women basically, it was so much safety in the world. That was going to be the war that ended the war. We're all done with it. It was kind of like a big shift. Women said, we can be also, besides being feminine, we can be independent. And men said, instead of having to kill people, we can go to our female side and demonstrate for peace and make love, not war, and grow our hair out, and the Beatles, and all these things. I was all hippie those days. That's me going to my female side. And it was fantastic. And women going to their male side. They'd never been there. So as a group, we're in empowerment groups. We're going to change the world. We're going to make money. And now they made through the glass ceiling and they hadn't had an orgasm in 20 years. That's the reality. And those men haven't had a job in 20 years. Exaggerating here just to make the point is that I went to my female side and got high and went to Woodstock and free love and just felt awful afterwards. I said, something has to be done differently. And I didn't realize what was happening. I went too far to my female side. You see, what the symptom of men being too far on their female side is too emotional, too angry, too irritable, too wimpy, too soft, inability to sustain attraction to the person they love. You can be attracted to a stranger, but not to the person you love. That's being on your too far on your female side. And the bottom line of your female side is when you're depending on something outside yourself. Nothing wrong with that. I depend on this interview to have this conversation. So that's my estrogen. But my testosterone is my independence. I'm saying what I think. I'm saying what I want to do. I'm saying how I want to help people. I'm doing what I want to do. It's freedom. It's independence. This is our male side. The female side of us is depending and following and yielding and loving. And, if you interrupt me right now, I will yield. Okay.
I'm waiting for the moment, John.
Okay. Well, you're on your female side. This is because when I talk, women go to their female side, or the women who really hate their female side go, yes, but. Okay, that's okay. You're on your male side. You want to question things. Critical analysis is your male side. And so you want to go over that critical analysis. But when you're out of balance, what happens is when a society is out of balance, we don't know what is real, then we believe lies. So if you have realized that everything they tell you on TV is a certain extent a part of the truth, to be kind, is that politics and all that, it's partial truth. It's this, but they'll say what they want you to hear, but they don't tell you the whole story. Just like when people come in and do counseling with me, they never paint the picture as if they're the wrong person.
Of course not.
If they do, they'll say, yes, I did this, but you have to hear what they did first.
Right.
You see, we tell a story to make us all so good. And I love the last question you're going to ask me, because I thought you told me you're going to ask me at the end. I'm going to answer it now a little bit. No, I'll answer more then. But it's to be human. To err is to be human. To make mistakes is to be human. To learn from those mistakes, to change, to be better is divine. It's the integration of the human and the divine. That's our purpose in life here, is to bring wisdom into our life, bring unconditional love into our life, be the person we want to be. I am that. I'm 70 years old. I'm just the person I always wanted to be. The world's not there, so I'm still here. So I'm of service to the world, which is another aspect of being divinely human. You see, is that we are not here for ourselves, but it's easy for me to say, because I have everything you could want, and realizing that's not so important. Just like the person with $10 million realized that doesn't make you happy. It's nice, no doubt about it. It gives you freedom, more freedom. And that's a good thing. But a lot of people can't handle that freedom. Women can't. Women are now free to make money, and now they're unhappy making money. They say, I work too hard. I'm overwhelmed. I have too much stress. And, I'm not happy because they're not paying me enough, or I'm not because of this. I'm not happy because you're not happy because you're not happy. And it's so the dynamic of Men Are From Mars had amazing insights in it, change relationships just like that. And they still do, but there's a new problem that will smother it. And that is why I had to write this book, which is, as women became more on their male side, that's their problem. It used to be women were too far on their female side and didn't know how to motivate men to do for them. And they just didn't have that. The male side of us figures out a problem and solves it. So women were too far on their female side, how to bring in the male. And men were too far on their male side. They didn't have empathy and compassion for women. So they went too far to their female side. So the symptom now of men going too far to their female side is, besides, make love, no war. That's the 60s, where I was coming of age, is now men have overly dependence. See, overly dependent means addictions. So we have a whole society of people who are addicted to TV, addicted to sports, and the most insidious is addiction to pornography, addiction to I can't remember that word for it, but obscene behavior, anything which is amoral. These are all addictive substances. If you think you're doing something other people will disapprove of, and you get off on it. I watch the gay parades where they're all flaunting their sexuality and their deviance and everything. This is a deviant society. And why do I say that? I'll look at it scientifically. They're denying who they are. You see, this heterosexual is the natural state. Now, there's some people who are born gay, but there are other people who've been molested, become gay. And other people are conditioned by society to become gay. All you have to do is have people. And now it's becoming so popular to be bisexual, which is just a doorway to non-heterosexual, and 38% of girls in high schools in America, at least parts of America, more like California, say we're bisexual. It is insanity. It's the new thing. You're cool if you're a they instead of a he or she. That's the cool thing to be. This is all due to indoctrination of a confused world. Because what we did is we went too far to a good thing. Too much of a good thing is never a good thing. If you have too much magnesium, we all need magnesium supplements, but too much magnesium and you'll die because you'll have diarrhea all the time. You see, every good thing, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And it becomes addictive as well. Women, on the other hand, have this innate ability, natural ability to look at problems. That's your power, superpower. No matter how good things are, you can make them better. Right. You never stop. And by making it better, say, what's wrong with this? We need to make it better. What's wrong with this? We need to make. Now, when you're not out of balance, you use that power on yourself. You never love your body. You don't love yourself. You're harder on yourself. And if you're hard on yourself, you can't be easy on the man. You can't. You see, you're basically, I love the theme of being human. You're not accepting that I am at fault. I'm at error and I want to become better. Whenever you justify your negativity expressed to somebody else, you're denying that you're being negative. You see, we justify. I hit you. Oh, because you hit me. No, that doesn't justify it.
Right.
It doesn't justify it. But that's as much the extent of our intelligence that we go for. I'm not going to get political. I would have solutions for that too. But I know a lot of this hinges on some primitive beliefs back in the Bible. Now, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus, all that stuff, but I also love Buddha and all these other people too. But having said that, I'm more Christian than anything. I grew up at that. I know I understand that. And there's this phrase in Christianity, which is turn the other cheek. What does that mean to people? It means to a woman, often it means he slaps me, will slap me again. Terrible. That's not what it means. Turn the other cheek doesn't mean take another slap. It means go beyond your reaction. You see, if you slap me, I want to slap you. That's a reaction. And so we're saying, no, turn the other cheek from doing that reactivity. Instead of reacting at the level of that person, respond at a higher level that serves them and serves you. You have to take the high road, always take the high road, but learn how to protect yourself along the way. That's taking the high road. It's win-win. It's I love me and I love you. And hey, if you can't give me what I need, then hasta la vista. But let me first see before I go hasta la vista, and then it happens again and again. Let me look at my role in that. And when you can start seeing that you make a change and your partner makes a change, now you have hope in a relationship. And that's all my books are about. You change and your partner will change, and small baby steps. It's all baby steps. And then you get to the highest level, which is most of the readers of my book are somewhat there, because the highest level is to realize that most everything we think is a problem is not a problem. He doesn't listen to me. That's not a problem. And by the way, if he doesn't want to listen to you, you talk too much. Are you talk in a critical way? Are you complain too much? Or you've talked too much and you need to talk to somebody else. You can't expect him to become a girl. Women can just look at each other and talk. Men go, what's the point? What we're about action. We're about doing. And if you have a guy who is all talkative, he becomes dependent on approval. He becomes dependent on appreciation. He becomes too dependent on your love. And he gets all petty, pouty, and demanding and impotent, all that stuff. I mean, 43, what is it? Over 40 years old, over 50% of men take Viagra and have an erection. Insanity. I'm 70 years old every day. I mean, come on now. But we're out of balance. It's men are too far on their dependent side. Women are too far on their independent side. And that, by the way, is a massive dysfunction, but it's also a step in evolution. See, I'm a spiritual person. I think devil's having its heyday today, without a doubt, but the power of awakening is occurring. People are waking up to realize they've been believing lies. They've been believing lies. These people I trusted are not to be trusted. And that is a big awakening in the world, getting people out of this illusion that they don't have the truth within them. And they're overly dependent on mommy and daddy as adults to take care of them. That means I depend on the government too much. I remember during COVID, I wasn't making any money. I had a staff. So the government gave me money to pay my staff to do nothing. The worst thing you can do, women with a husband, is reward him for doing nothing. But you have to know how I'm supposed to love, right? Yeah, you love based upon what you receive. You should give only because you've received. And men, you should give to get. But we're in reverse. Women are giving to give rather than giving because they've received. And that takes a little bit of new thinking here. But let's just look at these. Men and women are different. They're different forces. One force is, oh, you're so nice to me. I want to be nice to you. That is appropriate stance for women. For men is I want to be loved, so I'm going to be nice to you, and then you'll be nice to me. That's true. You see, if ever I'm nice to a woman, supportive to a woman, kind, generous, understanding, respectful, treating them well, they immediately want to give it back to me. Now, if you do that to a man, he'll say, yes, I did a good job, and watch some TV. Yeah. It's in our genes, our thing. We have to earn it. If you have to accept this, look at our history of rich men, rich parents raising boys who never had to earn it tend to be the most dysfunctional people in history. All your kings and queens. Wow. Terrible people. I mean, horrible, dysfunctional, crazy, cuckoo people who we all bow to. You bow to a dysfunctional person and that you think they're going to become functional. No, you stop bowing to them. You ignore them and live your own life. Starting to do that. Even still, I'm surprised in America where they still in a land of freedom bow to the princess. She's some big celebrity just because she's married a man who's born into his greatness. They're all narcissists, overly sensitive. And now we have a society of so many pampered children, the woke society, so whiny, complaining about everything, and so negative when they're the ones who are saying the world's so negative. No, you're so negative. Wake up. But they're so hurt by things, hypersensitivity occurs when we don't know what is true. The reality is, if you want to have good manners in the world, to take offense is to offend. People would write down, to take offense is to offend. So I'm so hurt by that. Oh, I'm so hurt by that. And then the lack of freedom of speech now in the land of liberty, so many people being canceled. This is the same thing in marriages. We're canceling heterosexual relationship right now. It is the foundation. What people don't know is the pharaohs of Egypt, the way they kept the Jewish people into slavery was the women were not allowed to do men's work. Men were not allowed to do, women were only allowed to do men's work, and men were only allowed to do women's work. And I'm sure a lot of women would be like, yes, we should have the power. Yeah. And then you're unhappy and men are weak and you can't marry them. You're looking around for a guy to marry you and you're turned off to all of them. No man is good enough for you because you're not on your female side, which is the potential to love and bring out the best in others. You end up bringing out the worst of others because you're not in your female side. So that's work. We all have to work in life. And you can't just, if he would just do this, I would be loving. No, you have to learn how to be loving. And that's a whole art in itself, just to wake up.
Yeah.
I know
you stopped abruptly there, John.
It's hard to get on the freeway with the car going so fast.
Oh, we're getting off, are we? Well, what I would love to explore deeper with you, John, is stress, because I know that in Beyond Mars and Venus, you do speak about this a lot in terms of how we can help to decrease stress by embracing more of our feminine, masculine qualities. Can you speak more to that?
So beautiful question. It's down to earth. If I get talking, the world.
I appreciate it.
So much craziness going on in the world. You just have to be a voice to having some truth here, and start having discussions on it. You can't even talk about this stuff. What people don't know, I was canceled in the year 2000. I was too big. The biggest author in the world, the number one best-selling book for 7 years of the 90s, sold more books than any other book on the planet at that time for that decade. I was too big. They cut me off. I used to do all the talk shows, the Oprah shows, the Today shows, the Morty shows, the Good Morning America, CNN. I was a darling. They all come to me because these are great ideas of men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And one day, stopped. Just like I got canceled. Simple as that. I'm not allowed because I'm a sexist in their minds. I used to teach at Harvard, taught at Stanford. No, I'm a sexist. Yeah. And they're not going to understand it because the kids would call me a sexist and put up signs and, argue with me. And they don't want to create that disturbance. They have to then pay for insurance for me to come speak. This woke culture was insane starting in 2000. This is where, we started to go out of balance as women were becoming more masculine. I was teaching men how to help them feel feminine without saying that at that time. Although I knew that was the case. I'm just saying women need to talk, and women go, yeah, I need to talk. Now these masculine women, they go, I don't need to talk. I need to do. It's just like they don't even feel the need to share what's inside to open up. They don't feel that. That's no longer the complaint. And ironically, if you historically you go through it, you see back in the 80s, sort of the theme song of that is "You Don't Bring Me Flowers Anymore." It was like people were in the 60s, 70s. People were waking up to passion. They wanted to feel alive, and then that went away. And now, why did that go away? Well, passion was there in the 70s and the 60s because women were shifting gears to come out of their limited self into a more spiritual self, which is both masculine and feminine. But feminine over here. So she's feminine. As she's moving to her masculine, there's a place like a pendulum swinging. When she's way over in her female and she moves towards the masculine, there's a place inside in the balance place where she's still feminine as she's becoming masculine. And that's it's like splitting the atom. Actually, that's fusion. There's atomic explosions. That's one source of power. Another is fusion. We actually bring it together. That's the power that I'm talking to you from right now, is the fusion of my masculine and feminine. That's how I make love twice a day. I mean, it's like 70 years old. How can that happen? None of my friends are going to believe it. It's just like, it's the fusion and the passion in my life, the happiness in my life, the ecstasy. I, meditate between 2 to 6 hours a day if I get up real early. These are all like things I could do as a young man, but I do more of it now. where does that come from? It's the fusion of the male and female sides of me, which it took me a long time to figure this out. And then beyond Mars and Venus, it's simple once you understand it. And the people go, okay, where's the science? Where's the science? Well, I'll tell you, it's simple science. This is not complicated studies, right? This is just Google searches. Nobody puts it together like I do and puts it in terms of a solution and understanding of what's going on. Although more and more women are saying, I need to find my feminine self. I need to find my feminine self. This is me after 15 years teaching that idea. It's coming around. But what does that mean to find my feminine self? You see, they don't understand that yet. It's hormonal. You see, there's no such thing as a they. There's no such thing as a trans. It's a man wearing a dress, okay? It's a woman wearing a machine gun, okay? So, and ironically, when I said machine gun, I thought back to an amazing statistic when I was facing this one back in the days. Should women be fighter pilots? If you want the best fighter pilot, it should be a woman. The best one will be a woman. Women are, when they shut down their female side, they have no heart at all. They just go completely. You see, every man still has a heart. He's still going to hesitate based on compassion. But if you train a woman to kill, she is way over there. So they make the best fighter pilots. Okay, it was told to me, the Jewish Israel, they found that to be the case. So I go, okay, so why is that the case? Well, what I see always is women are completely heartless when they're on their male side. Don't mess with Mama Bear. Okay, we all know. You see, it's like, if you have a lawyer, make sure it's a man. Don't go up against a woman. They are just heartless when they shut down their female. See, if a man, he's on his male, if he's on his male side, if he has competence, he's always on his male side, then he also has some degree, unless he's a psychopath, he'll have some degree of emotion and feeling. Because we're, the balance inside of a man when he's not stressed, we'll put it this way, now we're talking stress, and this is simple. When a man is experiencing stress, now what that means is not the outer world. It means your reaction to the outer world. Mm-hmm. Because I could be in a traffic jam. I'm not stressed by the traffic jam, or I could be in a hurry to get somewhere. And now I'm stressed. It's the same traffic jam, but because of the circumstances in my life and who I am, I produce stress hormones. So that's stressful. And that, again, that's always the outer reality is not the problem. It's us that's the problem. And then once we're the problem, we create problems in the outer world. So there are real problems in the outer world. But the closer you align with your love and your heart and your centeredness, you become a part of the divine plan in this planet, and you get your natural decisions and choices bring goodness into your life. Until it doesn't, it will always bring something that you have to work on something else. Okay, so everything happens to give you a lesson or to bless somebody else. Some souls will be abused just to find forgiveness for someone. That would be sort of the Christian model, which is Jesus suffered, but for you. I don't recommend mothers to say that to their children. I suffer for you. It's like, I feel lucky to be your parent. I love you so much. That's more of our human level. All right. So now we'll look at stress. So stress is cortisol. Now, once you produce cortisol, let's just measure the hormones in a man's body versus a woman's body. Simple. Whenever a woman is unhappy, that's stressed, her estrogen levels are low. And when she's not stressed and she's happy, her estrogen levels are about 10 times more than a man's. And when she's feeling romantically aroused, her estrogen levels are about 20 times higher than a man's. Just to know that's the case. Now, it could be that her estrogen levels, just because if she's cycling, her estrogen levels will naturally go up during ovulation. And if she doesn't feel safe, then she'll be very, very unhappy. So just having estrogen doesn't make you happy. But if you're feeling safe and you have high estrogen, then you're really, really happy, as opposed to really, really unhappy. Because it makes you see, estrogen helps you get in touch with what you need. It's the female side of us is dependent. The male side of us is independent. And where every interaction we have is accessing some female side, some male side. If I'm eating graham crackers at night, which is not good for me, that's my addiction. If they're in the house at night, if I'm watching TV, my testosterone will start going down. My estrogen will start going up because I'm not doing anything productive. Whenever you do something that's not part of your divine plan, you're stressed. I'll go for the graham crackers. That's my addiction. Now, I just keep graham crackers out of the house. And so I just immediately go for a glass of water and then it's gone. So I've done something productive for myself. Whenever you do anything which is selfish for yourself, I'm going to do something for me. That's your independence. You're free. Okay. Now, if you do something where you're dependent on someone for that, that's more of your female side. So it's always, everything's a blend. I have to sort of walk on eggshells when I talk about the female side is dependent. As a matter of fact, if you read my book, Beyond Mars and Venus, when I talk about all the qualities of male and female, the original book, I had 108 masculine qualities, 108 female qualities. It's endless. I can do it. I can understand them. But I realized it was too much to teach. So I just narrowed it down to 12 that are most accessible to people. And the top one is independence and dependence. Simple as that. And my female editors just could not handle it. These are New York women, unhappy, stressed out women. And you can't say that. I said, okay, we'll put interdependent. And okay. But the point of being on your male side and your female side is interdependence, as opposed to when I eat, I'm depending on food. Right now, I'm depending on air to breathe. Right now, I'm depending on a smile on your face. I'm looking for feedback all the time. Am I doing a good job? How can I lead this person the right way? Oh, we're always depending on things and people and situations. It's just that men tend to depend a bit more on inanimate things like my car. But also your skill, your competence, your awareness, your intelligence, depending on yourself more. And women, of course, can do that too. I'm not saying women can't. I'm just saying that when you're unhappy and you're a woman, you're not depending enough on others to feel loved, to feel safe.
I'd like to interject on this moment, because I feel like that's what really rings true to me, John, is it's not about the lack of ability or capacity for a man or woman to do male or female sort of things.
I've never said that. I've never implied that.
What will make you happy and fulfilled and be more of like a unique expression of self. That's kind of my understanding of what you sort of sharing.
Yes, that's a unique expression of you. There's nobody like you. But if you think you're trans, that's not you. And most of the people who think they're gay, that's not them. They've been molested, or they had needy mothers and demanding that push them away from the opposite sex. And almost every homosexual woman I counseled had an abusive father or an absent father. They never learned how to trust and love men. They never felt loved by men. So of course they're not turned on to men. They're not trusting. They don't trust men. It's so sad. That's half the world. To be intimate, to be open. So of course they're turned off to the opposite sex. And then they relationships, average length of the relationships, if you're a gay woman, is 3 years. If you're a gay man, monogamy is almost impossible, massively rare. And to me, if you're not monogamous, your soul is dying. When you have sex, your soul is coming out. And if it's not someone you're growing in love with, someone who loves you and cares for you, it's just like masturbating. This is a massive addiction to masturbation, which is soul killing. It's so amazing. Our society, we're primitive animals, unless we're human, which is we recognize I'm making a mistake. And then we're divine once we realize I made a mistake and I want to do better. And we're just there. See, there's forces on this planet. In Christianity, it's called the devil. Here it's just corrupt forces, selfish psychopaths running the world. And they are changing the narrative. They keep people like me off the news. They keep any of the truth off the news. During the COVID, how many doctors were treating it and saving people while everybody was told by the government that there are no treatments other than the vaccination? There are so many treatments, and people would go to the hospital, get no treatment. Nobody knows this. If you have COVID, you go to the hospital, they put you in a room. They don't treat you at all until you're ready for the incubator, and 80-90% of the people die. It's just a death sentence to go to the hospital. Then they can amp up the fear, put the fear on TV, because people, when they're afraid, are malleable. And then we're going to moving towards the surveillance state, the credit state. This is all real. It's already happening in Europe. This is insanity. It's forces that want to centralize control. And these are non-feeling human beings. They're the opposite of people who, listen to me, who want to have love in their relationship. They don't care about relationships. Bill Clinton and his wife, the guy's cheating on women all the time. What is the other guy, Bill Gates? They all go to that island where they're having sex with young girls. It's all known. This is like pedophiles all over the place. And yet we we don't look at it. We don't look at it. That 3,000 pedophiles last year put in jail, just huge numbers of rackets and abuse and prostitution. All these things are going on in our world. And we just want to live in our little bubble, which is okay. Live in your little bubble, but wake up to think that the people on TV, CNN in the last 3 months, 3 of the main people were pedophiles.
Wow.
They get fired. This is like insane. You say this stuff, people, oh, you're a conspiracy thinking. No, I'm just telling you what you can see in the news. This is real. This is real. This is horrible. And of course, I'm free to say these things because I've already been canceled 25 years ago. I'm still selling millions of books every year. Truth will prevail. The divine is waking people up. See, that's why all this is happening. It's happening right now. If you believe in the Jesus stuff, this is the end times right now. This is the wake up time. So many people are now going, okay, I took the booster, but that's it. Even Bill Maher, who's a big TV guy, who's always in favor of the Democratic side, didn't look at both sides, but he's smart guys. And he's now saying, look, this is too much. This is too much. I took it for the team. I took it for the team. No, it's just, I'm not going to do this. This is insanity. There's with loss of critical thinking. So anyway, critical thinking, when women are on their male side, they use critical thinking, and that's critical thinking is your male side. When you use your critical thinking, what women end up doing is unhappy women, stressed women. They use their critical thinking to justify feeling victimized. Women are like walking around, we're all empowered, but then they use victimization to be empowered. What's empowered about being a victim? It's so confusing to people. So people have to tell the truth. And you need to hear the truth from happy people, successful people, people who are role models of what you want to be, instead of these people who don't care about love or relationships. I remember Connie Chung. This is a very funny story about my career. Connie Chung was really big back in the 90s. And she was real tough. And she wanted to do an interview with me. Now, she's a straight feminist. I knew her husband who was molesting girls behind the stage. I did his show. So I knew they had no marriage at all. And so they're just professional people who don't care about love, family. And she asked me these questions. I wouldn't do her show. She was shocked. It's a national show at the time. I said, I won't come to New York, but you can come here. She wouldn't come here. So they went to Chicago. I'll meet you halfway. She spent 3 hours interviewing me to take out of that any place where I made a mistake in how I reacted, which would be like a total amount of 3 minutes on TV. But 3 minutes of national TV,
it's a long time.
And it's a long time on national TV. And she spent 3 hours sitting in her chair grilling me. First 1 hour of sweet questions, and then 2 hours of just insulting questions. And her staff said she'd never seen her like this. I mean, she fell out of her chair 3 times with my answers. She was so frustrated with me. And thank God I was ready for that. I always wanted so much success much sooner. And I realized it will come when I'm ready. And if I hadn't been ready for that, I could have just blown it. I could have gotten upset. You have to stay cool, calm, and collected. You have to answer reasonably. And I've diverged too far. But anyway, when it's so funny, it's just so deceptive. And when you hear these interviews where it sounds like the person's a bad person, they talk to that guy for 3 hours and mix him up. And they couldn't even give a whole sentence of me. They had to cut me into many sentences. And still I look good. And she would say, who are these blonde bimbos who just want to talk when you come home? I said, clearly, they're not like you. You're married to your job, not your husband. She fell out of her chair. And another time she said, who are these blonde bimbos who just want to do this? And I said, another time she said, there's people listening who really, really, they want love, family, children. And how could you do this to them? I said, well, actually, they're the ones who buy my book, Connie. You don't. You don't have children, and you'll never have children. She fell out of her chair again because she was unable to get pregnant. I already knew that in advance. But these people, they can't look at the truth. They can't look at my unhappiness. They want to project that onto other people and control them, as opposed to be happy. And this is what I'll say the root cause of this is, of course, the devil, which is trying to break up mommy and daddy loving each other. And at the same time, there is this evolutionary wake up, which is liberation of the spirit, because the spirit comes in, your soul or your spirit, however you want to call it, is both masculine and feminine. So when those merge together, you're right in line with your divine purpose, which is integrate the masculine and feminine in this world together, men and women in harmony together, recognizing their differences. See, and the funny thing is the people who hate me the most are all into diversity and equity and equality. And I say, how can you have an equal society and inclusive society if you don't respect people's differences? We are different. That's what it's all about. We're not all the same. What they want, see, the agenda is everybody to think the same, everybody to be surveilled, everybody to get rewards for doing just what they want, rather than being able to learn your own lessons, which is humanity. You see, to err is human. Our job is to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and be loved having made those mistakes, to learn how to love. See, this is about our role here, not someone making us be perfect all the time with punishments and rewards. Okay. Although parents need to reward their children with love, but I wrote a whole book on how to motivate your children without punishment. There's no need to. Monkeys punish each other. Monkeys use violence to hurt control. We don't need to do that. We can rise above. But I want to come back to practicality for your listeners, and I'm sure they want to have better relationships. When we're under stress, you look simply, women's estrogen levels are low. If she can raise her estrogen levels through loving relationships, her stress will go down. For a man, if his testosterone is exceedingly low, when he's happy, he's 10 times higher than a woman's testosterone levels. And when he's romantic, it's 20 times higher than a woman's testosterone levels. So doesn't it make simple sense that a man needs to pump his testosterone levels up and be loving towards a woman? That gives him the energy to do it, and that will increase his female side. And that's why men are attracted to women. But you have to know and have a history of, I can make a woman happy. If you don't have a history of a father making a woman happy, either you become a criminal, narcissistic criminal, who says that I don't care about others, or you become gay, which is I can't connect with the female at all, and I have a gay experience. And once you've been molested as a boy, you become gay. You make a gay through molestation, and you can also make a gay just by having feelings like that on a boy. See, even being approached, and I know that because I was approached many times because I'm very masculine and feminine. Okay, and I go into San Francisco, and guys would come on to me. It was just this icky imbalance that would occur, and I just have to I just stop going in there. Which is, again, when somebody abuses you, just have a neutral attitude, walk away. If your husband is yelling at you, you stop. Don't argue back. Stop talking and just say you're being a bully and walk out of the room and come back with a smile. Don't punish him. He's out of control. If my wife's complaining too much, I go, okay, honey, let me take some time to think about it. And I go off and I do something to build up my testosterone. See, it's all biological. See, we have 3 brains. We have one brain, which we absorb completely from our parents, is the instinctive unconscious brain. For the first 7 years, we are in a dream state. We absorb everything from our parents. A state of deep hypnosis is the theta state. All children are in the theta state. We absorb it. It's in our unconscious. You think you're free will? You have very little free will, unless you're recognizing I made a mistake and I can change it and not be victimized again. That's it. That's it. That's it. The human is to err. Accept that. We make mistakes, but then we learn from them and we pledge ourselves to do it better. You can't do it better. I just want you to know none of you can do it better until you read my books. That sounds so arrogant. I get it. So self-promoting. I get it. I've never been this way before, except I see we're going in the wrong direction. So wrong. And you need to have somebody show you in your relationships where you are off. See, it used to be, it was a whole different morality in the world because men were men and women were women. Men knew you don't yell at a woman unless she mistreats you, and then you can. What kind of idiocy is that? It's just like, no, you never do that. You basically realize that when you're angry at a woman, if you talk, it only gets worse. So that's a rule. That's science. If you talk when you're a man, not a woman, if you're a man and you talk at a woman when you're angry with her, your estrogen levels will go up. Now, if a woman's angry at a man and she talks and he doesn't listen, then her estrogen goes down. If she talks and her estrogen goes up and she feels heard, then her estrogen will continue going up in a positive way. Her stress will go down. So we want to lower stress in women. When you have stress in your body, blood flow stops to the left prefrontal cortex of your brain. That's the part of you that can see the good. Instead, it goes to the right prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is always looking for danger, always looking for problems, always looking for what's not good enough. And that's why I told you women are experts at seeing what's wrong. It's just that they need to be, if they're in a stress state, they only look at what's wrong rather than looking at what's wrong and what's good at the same time. You see, that's the balance. I mean, you can't have evolution if you can't look at what's wrong to improve it. But if you're not looking at what's wrong with trusting that there's a solution, and I have the solution within myself, I can make a change within myself, the outer world will change. This is the Enlightenment. You know, when people became involved with the movie The Secret and so forth, there was a message in there. I was also in that too. And they cut most of me out because I said, yes, attitude is everything, but you have to be practical. You have to take action. You have to do behaviors. Right. You can't just have positive things. You have to know when things aren't going your way, what's the behavioral change I need to make? And you can't know that if you don't know that. You see, if you're making the mistake, you don't know. You have to find somebody who has made that mistake and realizes there's another way that's easier to do. It's like if every time I'm trying to get out of this office that I'm in, I go over there into that room to another bathroom and climb out the window. That's a long, arduous journey to do. When if somebody said, hey, John, there's a door right in front of you. So easy to do. Anybody can make that change. It's simple. It's called knowledge, wisdom. And right now, we don't have wisdom on the planet how to be masculine and feminine at the same time. We have knowledge that says if you go to your female side, you're weak. And men who go to their female side are weak. And women who go to their male side, too much. Nothing wrong with going to your male side. It's just that you tend to deny your female side. You see your female side as weak and unworthy. And if you're weak and unworthy, you don't have to go to your male side to behave in a certain way to prove that you're worthy. No, you're already worthy. You deserve. You see, when somebody has high self-esteem, they don't get angry about anything. Anger is a primitive emotion. Now, am I saying don't get angry? I'm saying process anger because you are angry. Don't lie to yourself. Pretend not to be angry when you're angry. Don't lie to yourself. Pretend I'm not hurt when you are hurt. Don't lie to yourself when you're afraid and you act like you're not afraid. And don't lie to yourself when you're feeling bad, you're not good enough, and act like you are good enough when you think you are not. Go stand naked in front of a mirror. Walk outside, see how good you feel about your body. Share what's really inside of you and see how good you feel about yourself. See, and if it's negative, it's negative. Don't justify your negativity by what other people say or do. And I'm not suggesting you walk naked outside. I'm just saying that sometimes you're forced to see yourself. Show yourself to a therapist, show yourself to a friend from the point of view of this is not really me. This is my human error to make a mistake. This is the confused part of me. This is the unloving part of me. This is the part of me that I'm wanting to let go of and understand and release. And you can't change anything until you share it with others, which is why I'm a proponent of massive heterosexual intimate relationships. You can't grow as a spirit. Your soul dies. And unless you're just, there's a certain section of people that are born homosexuals. They should be celibate their lives. Throughout history, always these people were celibate. They're the shamans. They're highly spiritual. Generally, they were males. The males who basically were homosexual is they're born that way, their brain's that way. What occurs is they have a strong female side, and that allows them to be highly spiritual if they practice a discipline. And that discipline is celibacy. So they're celibates. That's called monks. That's the tradition of monks and holy people, where generally males who were born with more of their female energies, their brains develop in a certain way, or they just more evolved souls. They come in and they have a lot of feminine and they're in a male body. So what they do in order to avoid to continue growing is they practice discipline, and discipline is celibacy. And I talk about this because I've never had a homosexual encounter. Although I can feel it when it comes, these guys can come on to me and say, I'm out of here. I mean, I'm like jumping out of here. This is something wrong going on here. And people can say, oh, you're just homophobic. And I go, no, I'm very happy with, I have good friends that are gay and whatever, just don't come on to me. and I also know it's an imbalance, a biological imbalance. It's hard to say that when it's your good friends. Okay. I get that, but I got to speak it out now. It's just we're too decadent. That's the word. We're a decadent society. You know, this is when Sodom and Gomorrah, that's what we become. This is unhappy men going to prostitutes. Now we've got them all going online. They're addicted to pornography. You can't even do a study on men who don't do pornography. I'd be the only person there is. I was a pure celibate. I didn't masturbate throughout my 20s. I know the power it gives you as a man to then come that discipline while I could feel one with God. See, oneness is your feminine side. It's this intuitive part of us, the right brain. It's an intuition, no logic, no thinking, no even identification of who I am. You merge into the whole. Okay, so I needed the discipline, and the discipline is to be free of all addictions. And the most powerful addiction in men is ejaculation. And so that addiction, it just grows. Now, if you make love to your wife and you ejaculate, it's a little different. Your body makes a hormone called prolactin. Prolactin inhibits your sexual addiction. But if somebody tells you, like they're doing now, the boys, they're saying, oh, self-pleasuring is good for you. It's good for you. No, it's not good for you. You can't create a culture of sexualizing children so young. This is insanity what we're doing here, talking to children about their sexual preference. Are you kidding? You can't even know your sexual preference. You shouldn't even be thinking about that stuff. If they ask the question, you go, oh, gosh, I don't know. I don't really like girls so much. Most little boys don't like girls so much. So, it's just basically, and so you just go, oh, must be gay. No, just because you don't like girls doesn't mean that. And all you have to do is just have gay experiences as a child, and your brain shifts, and you can shift it back. And now in Canada, if you say I can shift a gay person to straight, it's against the law. They're trying to make that against the law instead of like helping people understand the brain is plastic. You can change the brain back to your masculine brain before it was abused. And you can do that. And it's harder today to do that. And of course, why it's illegal is they did crazy stuff like shock treatment and punishment and pain. I'm not into all of that. I'm into understanding the brain is pliable. If you're gay, you practice celibacy. That's the first step. You don't buy into the addiction. The second thing you do is you start generating, if you're a woman or a man, things that will produce estrogen for women without depending on a woman for that, but depending on behaviors that will stimulate estrogen. And going to a male therapist would be really good for them, where they can feel a man can be loving and supportive, not sexual, like a father. But they didn't have a father. They don't have that relationship. And boys, to have a female therapist, would be amazing to have a woman who's actually happy. Their mothers aren't happy. Their mothers are smothering them. There's 99.999% of gay men, according to the studies. All this has all been studied a long time ago. Now it's practically illegal to talk about, is they had smothering mothers and weak or absent fathers. They have no role model of a masculine. So when you have sex, man on man, it's like wrestling. It does increase your testosterone, but you don't ejaculate after wrestling. It's men fighting, it's a big testosterone thing. Man on man is testosterone. When you're weak in testosterone, you man up, okay? But if you ejaculate, it now becomes an addiction and you can't be turned on to the female. This is like this. Nobody talks about this. Nobody understands simple biology of male and female. And what our goal is now as a humanity, as race, is to have something called lasting passion in a relationship. That's my department. And I say, not everybody wants lasting passion in a relationship. You want to go be gay, go be gay. Gay guys can have sex with 9 people and you're going to die early. All the statistics show that the men who die earliest are gay men, more vulnerable to any sickness and disease because it weakens your immune system to not have your hormones in balance. And the women, basically, the length of relationships are 3 years, and relationships are really important to them, but they're so unhappy with each other, they break it up, and they have something called dead bed. They have no passion. So they also are addicted to this, their clitoral release. Okay. And then that's the whole thing Freud talked about, which is the immature orgasm in a female versus the mature orgasm. The immature orgasm is just stimulating your clitoris, and your vibrator will do that. That just sucks out your soul. You should throw them all away. This is terrible for the body. And even if you look at Chinese acupuncture and all that, it's overstimulating the clitoris with a vibrator causes kidney deficiencies. You can't regulate water. And then you suddenly find these gigantic thighs and big waists and all, your body puts on fat like crazy. It's all watery fat. And it's due to too much masturbation. So you'll see, fat women are often, you see the gay women, they don't start out that way, but they're just masturbating. They're not having male energy. See, these are places where our energies connect, where a man is selfless and a woman is full of herself. She's receiving pleasure and her pleasure increases his testosterone. Anytime a woman smiles, man, testosterone goes up. A man is serving her. So what we have as narcissistic men who are basically too far on their female side. So they're depending on that pleasure for their happiness to be stimulating themselves, as opposed to being there to serve her. And you can't just take that step. We have to take baby steps towards that. For the men listening and the women who are having sex with those men, look at the research. Okay, and this is biological stuff. Studies have been peer reviewed, studied, and acceptable. It's very rare you see it because one of the biggest industries in the world is the porn industry. So they're all out there saying masturbation is good for you. It doesn't lower your testosterone. Baloney doesn't lower your testosterone because men's testosterone levels drop 1% every year. And that's what's happening in our culture. It didn't used to be that way. I'm 70, mine are 50% higher than when I was a young man. I know how my wife has passed she passed 4 years ago, but we always had great sex. But the passion was there. And now passion is still there at 70. I mean, why? Because I know how to do it. Is that the research shows that if you're a man and you have ejaculation on Saturday night, say for 6 days, no ejaculation, on the 7th day, if you have sex on the 7th day, testosterone is going to go 50% higher. Now, nobody has, and that's a dynamic. If you don't have sex, then you just stay at your baseline. But once you start having sex, it will come up a little bit. But sex once a week. If a man ejaculates more than once a week, then that twice a week thing that most couples do, they do it twice a week. And then over time, they lose sexual interest. Why lose sexual interest? Because men's testosterone keeps going down. And what women need to keep their estrogen up is a man who is up. Okay, a man who is patient, but a man who is ready to go. And that every man is ready to go. Every morning should be ready to go. Whether he goes or not, he should be able to do that. And not that he has an ejaculation every day. So the first stage of this baby step going to where you become a Superman, your best potential as a man, is you want to raise your testosterone over the years. So you basically do it once a week. Then what you do is you start learning, once you'll be free of the need to ejaculate, never masturbating, never doing porn, once a week with your wife, with the person who loves you, then your body starts making more and more of this hormone called prolactin that frees you from your addiction and your behavior of not just masturbating all the time or dwelling on other women, all that stuff. That goes away as you produce more prolactin. That's bonding with your partner and keeping you interested in her sexually. The next thing that happens, and that only happens if you do it once a week. If you do it twice a week, you don't get that. You just go back to the lustful sex rather than making love sex. Then once you're free of the addiction, then you start practicing techniques which allow you to have orgasm without ejaculating. And then you can have orgasm, then you become multi-orgasmic the way a mature woman can be multi-orgasmic instead of this one clitoral orgasm and she's done. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If that's all you can get, that's a good thing. but when you have a man who's not addicted to ejaculation, it can allow him to last long enough and be in his emotions to last, and she becomes multi-orgasmic. And this is all just potential. Just keep reading my books, learning how to do this. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't be a rock star and with a guitar until you learn how to play it. It takes a while to learn this stuff. This is our future as men and women. So back to your question, which is how we regulate stress, is men, when they go to their cave, what they're doing is they're doing something non-personal with their partner that will also demonstrate some level of competence, some challenge, some problem solving, some analysis, being independent. All those qualities I just mentioned are testosterone producing. His testosterone comes up, then he will want to come out of the cave, interact more with her. If she is dissatisfied with him when he comes out of the cave, he goes right back into the cave, has to rebuild his testosterone again. We affect each other dramatically. When I'm out of the cave, if I'm attentive, I'm understanding, and I do little things, and those are all listed in my book, the things to do, and I listen, most powerful thing. And she has to learn how to be emotionally vulnerable, how to get in touch with everything inside and communicate it in a way that doesn't make him feel blamed. And these are all new art. It's new communication skills. It's a direction for study if you want to make the life worth living, with love and growing in love. And it's only when people listening to this, are willing to look at themselves and change that this world's going to change. Because right now we're going in the wrong direction and division is there. Nobody can hear different points of view. And this warfare again. Now they're thinking about World War III. This is just the own inability of men and women to make love at home and stay together and raise children who are confident and cooperative and happy.
Thank you so much, John. I truly appreciate you coming on the To Be Human podcast and sharing everything that you have shared. Thank you so much. Where can people find you, John?
Well, they can find me and get a free course at marsvenus.com/gift. And it's a free course for you on how to get everything you want in your relationships. And it'd be no politics in it. It's a little more practical, step by step. I tell you this stuff. I just can't hold myself back. And you're going to give me your question?
Yeah, I'm going to give you my question. On a final note, John, I would love to ask you, what does it mean to you to be human?
To be human is to be imperfect, to err, to make mistakes. To be divine is to learn from those mistakes and grow to be all that you can be. To be human is to be vulnerable. To be human is to recognize your own imperfections and accept those imperfections in others. To be human is to realize the most important thing is to grow in love and to give love.